three-piece Electrique is actually any good. This is something I've actually been meaning to do a lot of, to be perfectly honest, ever since the three-piece Regnbue build came into play and it showed that it was better than the standard high-end build that we use for basically everything. The question of three-piece Electrique very much came up in conversation a lot. And for those that don't know, what I'm essentially asking is, this being our standard go-to high-end build for, well, it has been for like the past 3 years. Three-piece Providence, Sacrifice, Gift, Contractor's Foxes, and then a Coyote's Mask. When it comes to LMGs, this has fallen out of favour. Could we say that it is also the same with SMGs, simply because we can now do three-piece Electrique, Contractor's Foxes, Coyote's Mask. This essentially allows us to get 30% more weapon damage, but we're obviously going to be losing a little bit in the old crit rolls, but we can make it back up to 60, which means we're just going to be losing critical hit damage. However, does that increase in base mitigate a lot of the overall performance of the crit? And then obviously, unlike with LMGs, SMGs also have their own brand set that offers crit, which is obviously going to be Sokolov. So again, three-piece Sokolov, Contractor's Foxes, Coyote's Mask. We then also actually have a dedicated gear set, which is what I'm using in the footage that you can see, which is Hunter's Fury. But for now, we'll leave that alone. Let's just go over these three high-end brand sets and see how they actually compare with each other. So the first comparison is just going to be the three-piece Providence versus three-piece Electrique, and hopefully you can see that Electrique is winning. This is all on the same weapon. We're using Dark Winter along with the close range Coyote buff, which is why our critical hit damage is so high. But yeah, the long and short of it is three-piece Electrique is doing like 4.2% more in DPS across the board, which is kind of a good thing. If we then actually compare Sokolov, although Sokolov is as well beating Providence, it's not quite catching up with Electrique, with an average of 2.65% more DPS, which is still about 1.5% below what Electrique is doing. However, there is actually a better way to build utilising Sokolov, and that's two-piece Sokolov, one Grupo, Contractors, Foxes, Coyote. Three-piece Sokolov gives us 8% crit chance. We don't really need that crit chance. We're on an SMG, for crying out loud. So swapping out that 8% crit chance for another 13% critical hit damage, we're still able to hit that 60% benchmark, but we're getting more DPS. And what that looks like is this. The Sokolov Grupo is now doing more on body shot, albeit by only 0.2%, but it's losing out on like 1.5% on headshots. This is mostly going to depend on how accurate you are. Personally, I would still go with the two-piece Sokolov, one-piece Grupo, just because trying to farm three-piece Electrique, because it has one of those really annoying features of it drops with a yellow core. So you're essentially looking for 3 unicorns. 2 Sokolov, 1 Grupo is just going to be easier overall to farm, and it's going to save you resources. It's just going to be overall better, which means you're not going to go completely stir crazy trying to farm 3 unicorns, which I'm sure we'd all appreciate. Now for the final bit of this, and as I did previously mention, there is obviously Hunter's Fury. This is a dedicated SMG and shotgun gear set within the game that I personally would argue is one of the most powerful sets, especially if you are playing solo. I'd actually argue if you are solo, this is the best set in the game. It offers very high DPS, great survivability, and you're able to pair it well with a good few things that are actually offer a good amount of variability within your overall build. Memento, Ninja Bite Backpack, Dodge City Holster, Glass Cannon, Obliterate, Headhunter, Companion, Perfect Companion, Versatile. It's very much a very, very versatile set depending on how you want to play. There are obviously going to be best in slot variants for all of these. However, mostly, like from speaking from experience, it really doesn't matter with Hunter's Fury. As long as you've got 4 pieces, you're good to go. The most unoptimal piece on the actual Hunter's Fury set overall is weirdly actually the chest. Although the backpack doesn't offer any damage, it does increase the overall range of the disorient, which does help increase survivability so that you can get more damage output out. So obviously here, 4-piece Hunter's Fury, Cheska, Grupo, running Dark Winter. We're at like 58 crit chance. We've got like 164% critical hit damage. Obviously, that isn't accounting for the Perfect Killer activation on Dark Winter. And then we have the overall effect of Hunter's Fury itself. How does this compare to everything else on the list that we have already discussed so far? And I'm hoping, shocking no one, you would understand that Hunter's Fury is clearly going to be the best option here. Now, there are a few caveats, which I will be going over in a second. But overall, as long as you have Hunter's Fury stacked and you are within range, like I said, I'd be going over them in a second. Hunter's Fury is by far the best set to be using for SMG because it offers very, very, very high DPS, great survivability through use of the Disorient, as well as armor on kill, which is 20% armor on kill, and 50% health on kill. You compare this with Gunner for 30% armor on kill, or with Firewall for 70% or 80% armor, even more health on kill. Now, just to expand on the caveats to this, Hunter's Fury obviously operates on an on-kill talent. While you are within range, you get a 20% amp that is applied to everything that was within range, which hopefully, if you can see into the footage, there is little Hunter Fury icons above some enemies when they come into range. When they're in range and they have that icon, you do 20% amplified damage. If they don't have that, you don't. This can then exponentially grow up to 53.15% amp at maximum stack. Before you are at maximum stack and within range, Hunter's Fury is by far the weaker of all of them. This is just with the 20% amp, so shooting things within range. We haven't got any kills yet, so the upfront damage of Hunter's Fury is quite lacking. However, this doesn't really tend to be that much of a problem because you're still doing enough DPS to get by, to kill things very quickly, and then once you start stacking with the Disorient and the armor on kill and health on kill coming into effect, it still does perform more than well enough within a variety of different areas, solo or group play. That being said, as you might have noticed, there was a few times where I'm forced to do it within the mission that I'm currently doing, DCT headquarters. If I'm shooting something with no stacks and not within range, Hunter's Fury sucks. We've literally dropped 20%. Like, it's a massive, massive drop. So, 3-piece Electrique, is it worth it? I have to go with an absolute resounding no. Either if you're able to use Hunter's Fury, which I don't see a reason as to why you wouldn't, its overall DPS, even before stacking, is more than good enough, and then once you've stacked and built up, it's huge. Add in the fact that Disorient, the armor on kill, the health on kill, the overall survivability of Hunter's Fury just massively dominates the SMG space. And then if you really do want to go down a high-end route, there's literally no reason not to go to Sokolov, 1 Grupo. It does basically the exact same DPS as what 3-piece Electrique would give you, but you're not farming for 3 unicorns and either going to be investing a massive amount of time or wasting a ton of resources. So if you have to go down the high-end route, just do 2 Sokolov and 1 Grupo. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.